Yes. We are back in with the Self Mastery Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Matt Reed, and this is today's experiment. Today's experiment is fat loss. I have been a personal trainer for the last 10 years. This has been my bread and butter. This has been exactly what I've been teaching, preaching, and sort of talking through for the last literally 10 years. 2015, I joined a gym as a personal trainer with not an absolute Scooby what I was doing. I did a 6-week course and we've done a lot of growing since then. So I'm very excited to bring this to you because this is quite literally like how I've been getting hundreds and hundreds of results with people for the last 10 years. So extremely excited to bring you this because this is lesson 1 in self-mastery. This is the first stage in this kind of road and this experiment to becoming a better version of ourselves, that self-mastery, and I'm just genuinely excited to get into it. So I won't tease you anymore. We will get straight into it. And the first topic, I think there's 4, right? So we're going to go through 4 stages and they are in importance, like levels of importance. And I'm going to start with the least important and work through to the most important. And I'm going to tell you why, because they all interlink and are going to make sense at the end. So the first one is the nutrients that you put in your body. And this is a really debated topic because a lot of people go paleo is the best, one ingredient foods are the best, and that is so true. Like, we know exactly what we should be putting in our body. We know veg is good for us, we know meat is good for us, we know eggs are good for us, we know fruit is good for us, like all of these nutrient dense foods. And for anyone that thinks that fruit isn't good for you, give them a slap. Like, just give them a slap, because what we're going to go through today is exactly why fruit is not bad for you and what nutrients you're actually going to need in your diet. So the first one is nutrients. Least important, but it is still important. It's still in this podcast. So when we talk about nutrients, I'm literally talking about veg, fruit, meat, iron, like minerals, vitamins, and stuff like that. So when we look at our diet, these are the things that are going to keep us energized to start off with. So actually making us feel good on a daily basis, but they're also going to keep us fuller for longer. We have another component that does also bring us fullness, but ultimately this first one is, it just gives you more. Like, if I go to McDonald's and get a burger, there's probably negative nutrients in there. Like, there's nothing that is serving my body in there other than fat, sugar, salt, and maybe a little bit of protein, but you're really pushing it with that one. So if I am choosing to go between a McDonald's and say like a stir fry, everybody knows that the McDonald's is the better choice. But why? And it's not because of the calories, and it's not going to make you fat because of the calories. It's not going to make you fat because of the fat. It's quite literally the satiation of it. Because if it satiated you just as much, satiated is like you feeling full. If it satiated you just as much as the stir fry, then it would be adequate. Because what happens is we have the McDonald's, we have the burger, we have the chips, we have the Coke, and it doesn't give us much. We're hungry quite soon after it, and our body's actually craving something very similar. It wants what we call like very palatable foods. So when companies are creating foods, they are creating them to have salt, sugar, and fat in them, and that creates like this hyper palatable food, and it lights up the brain. It's dopaminergic, so it creates loads of dopamine, the same kind of like chemical hormone that you have when you're smoking, drinking, all the fun things in life, and why people get addicted to those things, and why people get addicted to like the sort of bad shit in McDonald's and like, you know, all the kind of fast food and takeaway stuff. So starting off with nutrients, it's so important to focus more on getting those nutrients in our body. Like, when you have a big plate and a big portion of whatever you're having, and we're going to go into more specific meal stuff later, but at the moment I'll keep it broad. Have just a microwave bag of veg, like those frozen veg that you can get. You can quite literally get a microwave bag, put it in, and you can put it with most things you want, and even just put it in a bowl next to it, put some salt and pepper on it, and just have that just to get some nutrients in your body. Like, if you're still having chicken nuggets and chips for dinner, then we need to sort this out. Do you know what I mean? So nutrients are critical. So when we look at what we should be putting in our body, yes, one ingredient foods are important, but don't get too hung up on it. And this is why it's number 4 on the importance list. Third on the importance list, so third from bottom. So the third most important thing is protein. You need adequate protein, and you can get it from many sources. You can get it from meat, eggs, legumes, grains, you know, protein powder, yogurt, dairy products, you know what I mean? Like, we can get it from a lot of sources, but protein isn't, like, it's a buzzword at the moment, and there are a few caveats to it. So please do listen on, because this is not just, oh yeah, eat more protein. This is why we should have more protein. Firstly, I touched on nutrients being more satiating. This is the most satiating thing. If you have, let's say, 200 to 250 grams of protein in a day, you are not going to feel insanely hungry. Like, it's so satiating, it's so filling, which means that obviously we can have less of it and feel fuller. So right there and then, that's number one why protein is so critical to the fundamentals of fat loss. Like, being able to not have to go back to the fridge to eat more and more because we've got cravings, because we're hungry and we feel like we need it. So that's number one on the protein. But secondly, it has a higher thermic effect. And what I mean by thermic effect is it takes our body more energy to digest it. Well, what that means is, like, we have the thermic effect of feeding, which means that when we eat food, it takes our body energy and calories to burn it. Obviously not as much as it is to put it in, but there is a small calorie burn. But protein has a higher calorie burn than carbohydrates or fat. When you think of carbohydrates, they are very quick to digest. They are very quick to be absorbed. They are our body's like first initial readiness energy source. So you have, it's why you kind of like runners and stuff have those gels. It's just glucose, dextrose, some sort of like sugar. It's very quick. It's very gets into our bloodstream quickly, and we can use that energy and it's readily available, instead of having some peanuts where it's slower digesting. It's a slower release of energy. So if you're running a marathon and you need quick energy, absolutely have carbohydrates. But if you're going through your day and you're trying to stay focused in the office without having massive cravings, protein is your daddy. It also is the building blocks to our body. If you are going to the gym, which you should be, and you're lifting weights, which you should be, then this is the building blocks to your entire physique. If you're going to the gym, we need to recover. To recover, we need the building blocks to rebuild after we break all that muscle down. And the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism. The higher metabolism, the more we can eat without gaining fat. And it's a wonderful process that we go through to get ourselves leaner. So the main one, to be honest with you, out of all of that I've just said, is that it is way more satiating. It makes us feel a lot fuller, and we have a much better time with it. So if nothing else, if you're not weight training, even if you're not weight training, still have a higher protein diet. It is so important for fat loss, mostly for that satiation, mostly so you don't feel hungry all the time. If you wake up, have a bowl of cereal, you will be hungry by 11 o'clock. If you wake up, have some scrambled eggs and lean bacon medallions, you will feel full all the way till lunchtime. You'll also be more focused, more productive, more energy, more like sustained energy. All of these things are magical. So eat protein. And to work out your protein, you should be having about 0.8 times your body weight in pounds. So if I weigh 100 pounds, it's 80 grams of protein. All you have to do is put your body weight in and times it by 0.8. If you only work in kilos, then times by 2.2, then times by 0.8, that will give you your number. If you're trying to really kind of go in a gaining phase, then times it by 1.2. So you want 1.2 times your body weight in pounds. If you're trying to lose body fat, then 0.8. Only because then it kind of equalizes with our calories. I second, and this is controversial because most people will think it's top because all they hear is calorie deficit. But calories, second to top is calories, and you've got to stick around for number one. So calories are king. When it comes to fat loss, calories are absolutely king. You cannot lose body fat without a deficit of energy, a deficit of calories. You can either increase the amount that you move or decrease the amount that you eat. Either way, we need to increase that proportion, because if you're not losing weight, then we're here. If we are maintaining weight, we are absolutely, we are right here and we are even. If you're gaining weight, then food in is higher than movement and burn of calories out, and then flip it over. If you're losing body fat and losing weight, then we have the opposite, and you are burning more than you eat. The easiest way to do this is to eat less. If you try and go and burn 300 calories, you will see that that workout is way harder than just not having 3 digested biscuits. And if you're trying to out-exercise a bad diet and you're not tracking calories and you're not understanding nutrition and you're not doing all the things I've already kind of touched on, then you're going to find it a really tough time. So please, just track your calories, understand your intake, absolutely do cardio. It's obviously going to help, but if you're going for a run, coming back and having bigger and bigger portions because you need to refuel, you don't. Like, you need to track those calories and you need to understand your intake, because honestly, even if you're using like an iWatch or whatever, the closest one that is like, they did tests on this, and the closest one was not was about 30% off of the calories that you actually burn, which is mental. That's the closest, by the way. So what we need to do is understand our intake, and it's going to make our entire fat loss journey way easier. And I wouldn't even prescribe shitloads of exercise to someone that just wanted to lose body fat. I'd be like, sort your nutrition out, because that whole process of just being more self-controlled, understanding calories, understanding nutrition, and all of that, way easier. So how do we do it? How do we restrict calories? The first thing is just get like NutriCheck, Fat Secret, MyFitnessPal, one of these AI apps. Do something, but make sure it's specific. And this is where most people go really, really wrong. They go onto MyFitnessPal and they don't want to pay for premium. So what they do is they type in, all right, shepherd's pie, get a generic shepherd's pie, and then it's nowhere near the calories that they put in. They've made it homemade. They've done different ingredients, different amounts of oil, different amounts of meat, different amounts of potato, and it's completely off. What you need to do is create recipes. So if you're going for, let's say, a shepherd's pie, I don't actually know the ingredients of shepherd's pie, so stick with me here. We're going to assume mince. So you would weigh the mince and you create a recipe on MyFitnessPal, create a recipe on whatever it is, put all the mince in. So if you have a kilo of mince, put that in, a kilo of potato, put that in, and then all the other ingredients, the total amount of ingredients, you put all of those in. And then what you do is you cook it off, you create the recipe, and then you can tell MyFitnessPal how many portions that makes. And what it will do is just divide all of those, like your entire recipe, up into 6 portions, 4 portions, however many you made, and it makes life so easy. So you do need to weigh your portions. You do need to check the calories on the actual packaging as well. If you're not checking the calories on the packaging, like most of these apps are very user generated. So if I scan something that's never been scanned, it will ask me to input the information of that product. So I could just put that in wrong, and then that will be the data for that barcode for everyone. So you do need to check the calories. They also sometimes change it, update things, maybe change the recipe. So always kind of scan it or put it in and go, oh, okay, the package says 100 calories, but in MyFitnessPal it's 80. You go with 100 calories. You go with what's on the actual nutritional information bit on the packaging. So yeah, we need to understand calories. We need to understand the weights of certain foods. If you're having rice, weigh it out. If you're having pasta, weigh it out. If you're having chicken, weigh it out. Veg, sauces, liquids, oils, you really, really, really have to be specific. I would get a fry light and just count the sprays. It's normally 1 cal per spray. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you're using. If you're using olive oil and stuff like that, it's a lot higher calories. So make sure you're actually measuring it with a teaspoon or tablespoon. Don't just slap it into the pan and just hope for the best. All of these little things. And it sounds obsessive, but what's not obsessive is being in really good shape, being leaner, being bigger, being more muscular, being in shape and happy with how your body looks and feels. So if this is too obsessive for you, for the first 2 weeks, yeah, it's a bit shit, to be honest with you. You've really got to get used to actually tracking calories, weighing stuff, being conscious of what's going in your body. But after that, you generally have the same kind of recipes over and over again. So you don't need to constantly put the same thing in. Because if you have that shepherd's pie, let's say, you've already got the recipe. Just make it the same again, or roughly the same again. You don't have to do spices and stuff like that. If you want to change up spices, then it's negligible calories. But you can just change it up. No. But you can just use the same recipes that you've used for the last time you used it 6 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or whenever you had it. So yeah, you can create those recipes and make life so much easier. And the final one, if I told you that there was a drug that gave you way more energy, boosted your testosterone, helps you lose fat, improved performance, improved all of these metrics, and all you have to do is take this pill and you were magically all of these things, then it would probably be banned in most sports because it's of performance enhancing drugs. But this is sleep. If you aren't getting 8 hours of good deep sleep, you are literally ruining your entire fat loss journey. I have been on this fat loss journey myself for the last 4 weeks, and the worst days of my fat loss journey when I'm restricting calories are the days where I haven't had good sleep because my cravings are way higher. I am way more grouchy. I feel worse. My training's off. I don't move as much. All of these horrific things. And you only notice it when you've had good sleep. If your sleep is really terrible right now, then you need to improve it, because you might be like, oh well, I go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up at 7 and crawl to work and have 3 cans of Monster to get me through. So if your sleep is really, really bad, this will make a monumental impact. And you can't just have one good night's sleep and think everything's going to be all right. It takes 3 nights good sleep to actually get yourself back up to like proper levels of like less stress and proper levels again. And so if your sleep is really bad right now, these are the things that you are going to do to fix it. What you're going to do is you're going to force yourself to wake up at an earlier time. Let's say you want to start going to the gym in the morning. You're going to force yourself to get up at 6:30 a.m., 6 a.m., 5:30, whatever the time is you need to get up to go to the gym in the morning. Wake up, go to the gym. And this is non-negotiable, because what will happen is, we're going to take a slight tangent here, because you have something called your circadian rhythm, and that is your body's internal clock. And everyone thinks that it's your sleep clock, and it is, but it's also your hunger clock. It's also your energy clock. So if you wake up and go to the gym every single morning, the first session is going to be awful, and your body's going to go, what the hell is happening right now? But if every single morning you wake up 6:30, go to the gym, 6:30, go to the gym, 6:30, go to the gym, your body will start going, right, we wake up and we need energy. So imagine like you're a hunter-gatherer back in the day. You wake up and you go hunting straight away. But you're not used to it. Your body's going to go, right, we need energy. We need to, to survive, we need this energy to, lift the weights or, go hunting. So what we need to do is just get into the rhythm of actually waking up at the time that we want to wake up, and then go to the gym so you wake up with energy. And once you've done that, the idea is that you don't set an alarm to wake up. You set an alarm to go to sleep. So you will go... So instead of going to, 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m., whatever it is, you will literally set the alarm to go off when you need to go to bed. So if your wake up time is 6 a.m., you'll set an alarm for, let's say, 9:30, so you can be in bed by 10 and asleep. Because a regular wake up time and a regular bedtime is what's most important. If you are lucky enough to have a regular work schedule, 9 till 5, then you absolutely have the privilege of setting a regular bedtime, a regular wake up time, and getting yourself into a routine, and your body will thank you so much for it. Instead of just trying to force yourself to wake up and I'll improve my sleep, actually get to bed on time. Set an alarm. I'm going to bed at 10 a.m. I wake up at 6, I go to the gym, and you'll feel so much better throughout the day. But our pre-sleep routine is the most critical thing, because that sets us up. If you're high stress, let's say you're playing video games late at night, or if you're working late at night and you're really stressed and you're just or got TikTok or something on your phone, you're scrolling through, all of these things are adding cortisol and adding stress, and all the screen light and everything is going to impact your sleep. So what you need to do, this is why I said set an alarm half an hour before you want to go to bed, is get yourself into a cold, dark room where there's just an ambient light, like a lamp, and read, journal, meditate, stretch, do something for half an hour that does not include your phone. I would put the phone completely out of the room. It impacts your sleep way more than you could ever imagine. And if the phone is in the room, then you're not going to go on it. But the temptation, if it's just sat there I may as well I can't sleep, so I'm going to go on TikTok. Blue light wakes you up, because that blue light is the exact same as when our body recognizes the sun. So yeah, get the phone out of the room. And the last thing for sleep is making sure that you aren't having caffeine after 12 or 2 p.m. I'd really try and get my last bit of caffeine in 1 p.m. latest. And this is because caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 8 hours. So let's say you have a cup of coffee, you're still going to have half a cup of coffee in your system, potentially 8 hours after you have it. So if you have a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock, you're still going to have half a cup of coffee in your system at 10 p.m. So it does impact sleep massively. You may be like, oh yeah, I can have a coffee right before bed and it'd be absolutely fine. Yeah, but what you aren't understanding is that deep sleep is where our recovery happens. When we actually go into a deep slumber, our REM sleep, that is where our recovery happens. That is where our memory and our brain actually downloads all the memories for the day. The last thing is just pulling it all together. So how does this actually all look in practice? Because as a coach, my job isn't to just yell information at you, because you're going to listen to this podcast, go away, and then not really put any of it to your life. So my job as a coach is to help you implement that into your life, and not just yell information, because the information would just be generic. And although I can't really be specific to you in this podcast, because this is going out to however many people listen to it, we can try and help you implement it into your life. And it is all situational. So if time is really, really not on your side and you're extremely busy, then if we're starting from number 4, which was nutrients, protein, and calories, those 3, what we need to do is start looking at meal prepping. And if you want a recipe guide for meal prep, then drop me a DM after this on Instagram, just saying meal prep, then I will send that over to you, and it'll be a complete guide of your calories as well. I don't mind doing this stuff for free. It's really easy. I have hundreds of guides because I've done hundreds of guides for my clients, and I can just send you one of those. And all you do on a Sunday is batch cook. You can either do that, or the night before you go, like, or the night before that dinner, let's say you have a stir fry and your dinners are actually really good generally, then you just make 2 of it, put half of it in a Tupperware, and then take that half to work the next day. So you just have, like, let's say it was stir fry or like chicken and rice, or whatever it may be. You just do double and then put it in Tupperware. Then literally take it to work the next day. It makes life so much easier. So if you're really, really busy, and a lot of the clients that I work with are extremely busy, that's the best way to do it. And what I do is on a Sunday, cook up 1.5 kilos of chicken. Every single lunchtime, I've got 300 grams of chicken to put with couscous, microwavable rice. Like, depending on your calories and depending on how much you want to eat and how much you want to do, like, it will depend on like how much you want, what you put with it. We touched on bags of frozen veg. I take that one of those as well. It's easy. I also make like just a beef stir pot, literally just ground beef, chopped tomatoes, seasoning, passata, and like other kind of things. Just build that in a baking dish, cook it off, put it in portions, and again, make the recipes in MyFitnessPal, and however many portions it makes, divvy it up into that. Bam! You've got 5 to 6 portions of lunch and or dinner, depending on what you like. The sleep's a little bit harder. Like, if you work shifts, then it becomes really, really difficult. But I'm going to talk to the 9 till 5, then I'm going to talk to the shift workers. If you work 9 till 5, then, like I said, we've got to just set an alarm to go to bed. Like, you need to cut everything out in terms of like bright light, screens, Netflix, TikTok, gaming, whatever it may be, and then take the phone out of the room, put it on charge in the kitchen, and then go to bed and read a good book, do some stretching, pillow talk with your missus. Who knows? You can do whatever you want, but you need to get those screens out of the room half an hour before bed, and that will make your sleep 10 times better. Cut out caffeine, cut out like really highly stimulating things right before bed, and you'll be really, really, like, you'll be sleeping well. For people that work shifts, you just have to try and work with your body. It's the same kind of concept. Like, if you're working early one day, late the next, like, you just have to try and find a happy middle ground. If you're changing your bedtime by like 1, 2, 3 hours, it's not the end of the world, but I would just try and, like, if you're regularly kind of doing, I don't know, 7 till 3, 7 till 3, 7 till 3, and then you're going to do a 10 till 6 the next couple of days, like, I would try and just stay with the 7 till 3 regime, like going to bed at, I don't know, 10, and then waking up at 6. So going to bed at 10 and waking up at 6, and then you can still do that same timing if you're working 10 till 8. So, like, you just got to try and work out where the best time for you and just plan your weeks ahead. But the main thing for all of this is literally just planning. It's just being organized and being, like, working ahead. I am currently on a fat loss journey, and it's made so much easier when you plan ahead. You actually understand what the week looks like. I put all of my food into MyFitnessPal before the week even starts. So, like, I know what I have left. Every single day I have about 800 calories left, and I can kind of put that to whatever. You can also do something called carb backloading, which is really interesting. You can have all of your protein at the start of the day when you might be higher motivated to have higher protein, sort of more healthy stuff. And then at the end of the day, you have all of your carbs and fats. So if you're tracking, then you obviously want to hit your protein, like we talked about. You want to hit your calories, but you could just have all your protein at the start of the day. And then at the end of the day, it could just be like a nice carbohydrate-y, fatty meal. And as long as you're within your calories, then that will not impact your fat loss whatsoever. We've gone through a lot today. This is a 30-minute episode, and I'm really happy that it went on so long. This is, like I said, my bread and butter. And hopefully you've taken a monumental amount of value from it. This is the start of self-mastery. Like, I personally think if your fitness isn't in check, then that's like a really good starting place. It's some easy wins. You can physically see your body changing. It builds confidence, it builds authority, it builds self-assurance, it builds so many things. So if you don't get your fitness in check, then everything else becomes a lot harder because your energy isn't in the right place, your body and your confidence aren't in the right place. So when we get those things all in check, then self-mastery becomes so much easier. Confidence to go into new fields and new elements becomes so much easier. I know that my confidence goes through the roof when I actually go on a bit more of a fat loss journey and actually feel more comfortable in my body and in my skin. So yeah, that is the fundamentals of fat loss. Questions, drop them below. Send me a DM on Instagram. Follow me on at Coached by Matt. It's at coached_by Matt on TikTok and Instagram. Send me a DM if you've got questions. Follow me for more updates. If it's been useful, drop a like, drop a follow, drop a subscribe wherever you're listening. And I'm really excited to bring you episode 3. Peace.